We continue with the profile of musicians Bruce Cassidy and Pops Mohamed.
Music started at a very early age, when I was about 8, 9. People used to listen to David Davis' LM Hit Parade. On Sundays they had the LM Hit Parade, and then, I mean, that was like one of the best entertainments, listening to that program, which was like the top 20, you know. And I got exposed by the sounds of Cliff Richard and the Shadows, bands like The Ventures. And then local bands like Johnny Congress and the G-Men, they also played the same kind of music that the Shadows used to play. And I liked the sound of the guitar.
My grandfather played in the Salvation Army band. He was a bandmaster or whatever. And he accompanied playing the cornet when I was about 3. Just making a noise. But that wasn't a strong influence. I mean, I didn't grow up with him or anything. So it wasn't until I was 14 and I discovered in Air Cadets that if you played in the band, you didn't have to do marching practice. So I thought that was a really good trade-off. I thought that was a lot of fun, so I took up the bugle and been making noises ever since.
Yeah, it must have been about 13 or 14. My dad bought me my first guitar, which I really appreciated a lot, and this like started the whole thing.
I just found music that interested me, you know, bit by bit. In my hometown, there weren't any professional musicians, and there was no, and the record shop was really poorly stocked, and my dad had Matavani records and stuff like this, so it was a bit difficult. But gradually I found my way into this jazz music, and I was influenced most by the trumpet players, Clifford Brown and Miles Davis, and their various sidemen, and the writer Gil Evans probably made the biggest impression on me.
To listen to sounds of Dollar Brand, Kipu Moketsi, Zakes Nkosi, you know, the traditional African sounds. And that always used to be in the back of my mind, you know, like, you know, that this is the music that the people really love. Because of the commercial world, you know, you had to play the top 20 to sort of gain recognition and stuff like that. Although it didn't bring us anywhere. Then I started realizing I had to do something very desperate, you know, to really change who I really am. Because you start asking yourself questions like, who are you? Why are you playing music? The music that you're doing now, does it really serve a purpose? Do you really get enjoyment out of it? Sure, you get enjoyment out of it because you're a teenager. Everyone, it's the trend, you know. But the thing is, the future, what are you going to do in the future when all this is over, you know? And that was a thing to think about.
I joined Blood, Sweat and Tears, which was a Canadian band in a way, because David Clayton Thomas, who had rights to the name, lived in Toronto, and I'd known him socially, and I'd played with him as a single artist. And we formed that band, and I was involved in rewriting the music and for new players and for new instrumentation. Then we recorded that, and we traveled extensively for about 2 or 3 years before I jumped ship, because it was evident that nobody was going to make any money. The management was really seriously in need of an attitude repair.
We started moving to more like the new sounds, the new Joburg sound. When Rabbit became popular, they had a very distinctive sound of their own. And we needed a sound that we could identify with, you know, to compare with what was happening in the white market. And we came up with an album called Movement in the City, which had a very Joburg kind of sound, using the electric piano, you know, Fender Rhodes, and fusing it with fretless bass sounds. And then that sort of encouraged me, like I'm really getting nearer to what I want, because I was moving away from the commercial sound and more to who I really want to be.
Looking for a beat. In some way, somebody's looking for heat.
Andre de Villiers, a really good local singer and songwriter, suggested that I come out here to work with Volker Miros, a filmmaker in Cape Town. And I took up Volker's offer and came out because I wanted to get into film music. And it didn't actually work too well because Cape Town was just a bit too laid back for me. And I eventually, like many people, you know, ended up working here. I need a big center to do what I do, which is mostly writing. I don't do nearly as much playing as I used to do.
I did a few more albums after that, which really didn't work, because you keep on searching for that perfect chord, struggling and fighting. And there's so many sounds coming from the West, you know, and people, and even the DJs tend to move you into a certain direction, like you have to play this kind of music and then people will listen to you, you know. But it's not really what you want. You want to be who you are.
My writing overseas was confined mostly to writing for shows or big jazz bands. I wrote some for the Boss Brass and for BS&T, of course. I did almost all the writing, as well as some of the songwriting. I did all the arranging. And, well, mostly my work was in the arranging area for different jazz groups. But here it's changed considerably, and I've become involved with the commercial area, writing music for films or TV programs, or for the logo for this program, for example, or commercials and so on.
When I started taking an interest in traditional music, I met Johnny Clegg, and I had released my first major record, I'd say, in 1990, which was a big hit. It's called Kalamazoo. And we were discussing the album, and Johnny said to me, "Pops, what instruments are you using on the album this time?" And I said to him, "Well, it's very African, it's very township, you know. I think I'm getting closer to what I'm looking for." And Johnny said to me, "Do you use kalimbas on the album, like marimba sounds, if you mean African?" I said, "No." But that sparked off, and I wrote to Andrew Tracy to give me some assistance in this matter, because this is really getting closer to home. And he really helped me a lot into studying traditional music. And from there, it just opened up.
I love music, you know. If somebody loves commercials, I think there's something strange with them. You know, I love the music part of it, and I like fulfilling a need. So, and on that level, I enjoy it. It's immensely frustrating. There's no honor in the business. It's quite peculiar, and it can be disheartening in many respects. Some people consider it a bit of a sellout. In some respects, it is. But I enjoy music very much.
Started looking at different kinds of instruments, the musical bows, the African musical bow, the makoyan, which is known as a birimbau in Brazil. And I started studying all these things. Even up to now, I'm still, you know, looking at various African instruments and fusing that with what I'm doing today, fusing old traditional sounds with modern sounds, which is very 90s, and also I don't want to sacrifice the identity of these instruments. And also it's a way of preserving this culture.
And I played the trumpet exclusively till about 78 or so. But then when I was on tour with Blood, Sweat and Tears over in Chicago, I found this instrument in a music shop. They didn't really know what the thing was. They imported one, and I went crazy for this thing. And I took it on stage that very night and played it, much to the chagrin of the band and to the perplexity of the audience. But I was fearless and delighted with this little noisemaker, and now I enjoy it easily as much as I enjoy the trumpet. I think it's the EVI, or electronic valve instrument, is probably the most expressive electronic instrument that there is.
You do have a history behind every instrument that you play. In fact, every note that you play has got a name as well. Like the mbira, every note that you play on the instrument has got a name, and it also has a history. You know, that's what I really love about indigenous sounds. So yeah, you have another version of the mbira, which they call the instinkan. And the feathers that you see here in the thing represents your favorite singing bird. They believe that, you know, after a few years, as the thing matures, the thing will actually sing like the bird does, you know, whether it's aggressive sound or whatever. But anyway, it seems to work, because I've had an mbira for about 5-6 years now, and it seems to be singing the way I would like it to sing. This is what the Bushman mbira sounds like.
It's a wind synthesizer, we call it. It has a 7-octave range, the same as piano. To get by activating these rollers. There are no moving parts. The capacitance of your body triggers like elevator buttons. And here there's a torsion bar here for vibrato, pitch bend. And the harder you blow, then the louder it gets.
And I also discovered that in other parts of Africa we have a similar thing to the marimba. And this is from Mali. It's called a chili. The tuning is differently. It's tuned different to the marimba, and they have calabashes at the bottom that resonates the instrument. This is what it sounds like.
I enjoy electronic instruments. I guess maybe my dad and my brothers are all electrical engineers, so even though I went a completely different direction, I must have absorbed some of that interest, and it's taken me into computers and electronics that I quite enjoy. I don't have to have all this junk. I have it because I enjoy working with it.
I had to teach myself the kora by writing my own songs, because I didn't know exactly how the traditional people play, how the techniques are, because usually they're playing octaves. But it was difficult to me to find the octaves on the instrument, because there was no one to show me except for Dembo Conte, who's one of the greatest kora players, the guy who sold me this instrument. And he just gave me like 2 lessons. And then I recorded on a cassette. So I taught myself to play those 2 songs, and that's all I knew. each and every instrument, you know, as I go along. I'd go through books and stuff and find something. And it's like, I want to play this thing this weekend. And I'd start making the instrument, teach myself a few notes, and we'd just play. Rashid Lani invited me to come and watch Bruce play, this band. And they had this EVI. And, you know, I really loved the sounds, the music that they were doing. And like now, early this year, Rashid Lani was in Los Angeles. He came out here just to come and visit.
And I offered to have a party for him where he could invite all the people that he wasn't going to see. And he invited Pops.
And we went to this house of Bruce this evening, that one evening. And he sort of introduced us and said, you two are meant for each other. I want you two to work together.
I got your number from Rashid, right?
Yeah.
And I called Pops a couple of weeks later and just went to visit and see what he was about. And played me all this incredible music. And just played a little bit on the Imbira. And I thought, this would be interesting. Why don't you come by? And
You had your trumpet.
I had my trumpet with me.
Yeah.
Gee, I didn't remember that. Anyway, so we played a little bit. Did you do that?
Yeah. And I think the trumpet was out of key, and you liked it. So this is cool.
The trumpet's out of key. Come on. So then I said, we must come over and play. So he came about a week or so after that. You know, he came over and played, and Pops in the studio with the Imbira, and I sat in with the EVI. And he said, well, let's just put it down on tape anyway, or in the computer. Never rehearsed, and we've never written any songs that we sit down and learn to play, but Pops plays, and I play with him. We play together. And then afterwards, then I just work on the material and sort of post-produce it. I add other instruments. Rarely do I take anything out. If we hit a mic or something, you know, there's some noise, and I can take that out. Otherwise, it's not edited. So I think the nice thing is that it's very natural because it's just us playing. And when I add the other instruments, it becomes a little more palatable, you know, sort of westernized, if you will. And we've never thrown anything away.
Do you remember the first gig we had? When you came over and you said, you called actually, you said that I've got a gig but I don't have a band, would you like to play? And I said, what are we going to play, you know? I mean, I hardly know you. You know? And Bruce said, would you like to play? I said, yes, but we don't know what we're going to play. So we got to the club and just set up our instruments and just started playing. Whatever came into our heads without no rehearsal. The people responded very well to it. And I think that was pretty cool. And we sort of tried to remember whatever we played. And these are the tunes that Bruce took and started working on them. And every week we would try to bring these grooves back again. And this is how most of the songs developed, from the grooves that we played together. And I think this is basically what started Timeless.
completely elemental and instinctive performance, and it's very releasing and rewarding, and freeing for me personally, musically, if you will.
Yeah, it does the same to me, because I remember when I was in the States, I used to go to clubs like the Blue Note and listen to music, and you listen to what some of the cats are doing out there, duets, you know, and you could see the direction these people are trying to get into. And then a friend of mine gave me an album to listen to by Don Cherry and Kahil El-Jabbar. Guy played an imbira, and Don Cherry was playing his horn. And I guess this is what I've been aspiring all my years to, you know, all my life since I got into traditional music. And listening to this album was like, I just need that one person in my life. And then we could do this thing better, you know, because I could see they were trying to do what Timeless is doing now. And until I met Bruce, I knew that this is what I wanted.
Like us, the project has a life of its own. It'll probably just drag us along with it. But the idea has to go out, isn't to go out and be a success.
Yeah.
The idea is the thing that's sacred, that's at the core of it, is that we just enjoy playing and interacting with each other. It's the same when we're talking, we're playing. We just do the same thing, and we want to keep doing that because it's a refreshing and an antidote to what we usually do, which is, you know, sort of construction work, if you will, musical construction work. You know, we have to produce, you know, Pops is producing an album, there's a budget, and there are all kinds of constraints. There are no constraints with this. We do whatever we feel. And I think it's delightful, really. It's the first purely musical project I've done for a long time.
For me too. Yeah, I feel the same way. Now, this project that we've got now together, me and Bruce, it's so different from all my projects I've had all my life, you know. So different. And there's just something magical about it, you know. You just feel that I've never done anything like this before. And I guess it's a way of searching for that perfect chord, you know. It's like, I think I finally found the perfect chord, you know. It's a vibe. You know, we ride a string together, you know, of exploring. And now some different things are happening. Pops is tuning the instruments a little differently, and I'm starting to appreciate some of the subtleties of the instrument. So it's just our discovering another kind of music. And it's raw. The people is also important because they liked what we seemed to be doing, and I think it was also a kind of a healing process for both me and Bruce and the audience Sunday evening, people like to chill out and relax, and go to work the next day feeling good that, we've listened to this beautiful music that's very outside but still within reach, and it's based on spirituality, if you want to put it that way. Very ancient traditional music on different instruments that I play, traditional instruments, fused with futuristic sounds of Bruce on the EVI. Mainly using the mbira, the kora, and lots of ocarina, bird sounds, and also water.
Oh, yes. Water pouring. Yeah.
Water pouring. Lots of different... Yeah.
Will you get the credit for the water? Yes, it was your idea. But I think I actually poured it. Okay, so
yeah.
Okay, so we'll share that we both play water.
We both play water.